Pacific waves crash onto the arid shores of a country eroded by exploitation. Talk to a Peruvian, and he or she will tell you Peru has always been taken advantage of. Nearly 500 years ago, the Spanish wiped out the Inca civilization and robbed the country of its gold. Today, a staggering national debt has wiped out hopes for stability, and poverty has robbed the people of their hopes for a brighter future. For most people in the crowded, filthy streets of Lima, there's no such thing as getting ahead in the world. There is only survival. Inflation is out of control in Peru. The apple you buy today will cost twice as much 3 months from now. In some areas, people are pinning their hopes on extremists, terrorists who consider government inadequacy punishable by death. Half the country is under a state of emergency. Nelson Arunategui protects his right to live and work here by carrying a gun.
The life in Peru, for me and for my family, for my work that I have, I think I need is dangerous.
Dangerous?
Dangerous.
So you want to move?
Yes, I was talking with my wife about it.
Nelson was automatically issued a weapon because anyone who works for the government is a potential terrorist target. He's responsible for electricity in a town that hasn't had power for a year. Now terrorists want action. This letter arrived at Nelson's office. It demands a solution, and while there are no specific threats, it's clear Nelson's life is a bargaining tool. Alberto Weinberger owns a fast food place in downtown Lima. Outside, beggars and pickpockets roam the streets. Inside, restaurant stools are roped together so they can't be stolen. In a washroom, a toilet is missing a tank. It will be sold somewhere so somebody can eat. Alberto's business nets him about $50,000 a year, more than 10 times as much as most Peruvians make. In this country, he is well off. And in this country, there are ways to stay that way. You pay off officials, you cook the books, you don't pay taxes.
But you're cheating.
That's right. They cheat on us, and we just do the same. We have to do it if we want to survive. There's no way with an inflation of 40 to 50% a month that we could do the way they want us to do. You know, I mean, they're so corrupt. You know, even if the president is supposed to make $1,000 a month. You know, he's got 5 to 6 houses and airplanes and all these things. Where can he get that?
People come to large cities in Peru looking for a better life. Here they exist, alongside millions of others. If they're poor, they stay poor. The rich take care of business in secluded mansions. No filth, no disease here. Alberto counts himself among Peru's middle class, a sector of Peruvian society that is quickly disappearing. The rich here would never consider doing business with the poor, but Alberto does when something is stolen from him. He took us to Tacora, a high-crime, seedy part of Lima, where you can buy back nearly anything that's been ripped off.
Lo reconoce, pero cuando no, acá mayormente no se come porque hay más problemas trae, en vez que uno gane pierde porque lo recuperan acá.
What he's telling me, well, he's lying, is that all the things are imported, and he has the receipt, you know, so he won't admit that everything is stolen.
Alberto's brother Sergio is a professor of dentistry in London, Ontario. He's decided he'll never return to Peru. He worries about his family there.
I worry when I see that my brother, my youngest brother, who is 18 right now, was gunned 0.3 times last year, 1 block from my house. One to stole his jacket, another time his tennis shoes, and only God knows what they wanted on the third time. I do worry about the well-being of my family.
But back at the Papa Loca burger place, Alberto has no plans to leave Lima. A rich friend who operates an unregistered shoe factory has offered to help finance a chain of restaurants. Alberto figures his formula could make him the fast food king of Lima. Far away from the balance sheets and dreams of rich men, you will find the reality of Peru. When we come back, the story of Canadians who are adding hope where the future looks bleak. The Incas worshipped the sun and built cities of stone in breathtaking surroundings. Today, Peruvians live among the ruins and dream of better things. Many people in this country make a living off the land. But in rural villages like Caelte, north of Lima, drought has dried up hopes for a good year. "40% of the people here are unemployed. Alcoholism and family violence are commonplace. Most children are kept out of school to do family chores." Nuns from London, Ontario walked into this setting 27 years ago, and their work continues here today. The Sisters of St. Joseph run a center where villagers put their talents to use. The idea is to encourage, to shape and mold a better lifestyle. That can mean anything from cultural enrichment to putting more protein in the local diet. It's a learning process. For the villagers and the nuns, adopting a new lifestyle in Peru is not easy. Sister Antonia Stafford of London has lived here 9 years now.
For me, personally, I see us as friends, not so much as people that are helping other people, maybe as catalysts. We do come from a more industrialized country. The people here, for me, have a better sense of how to live in many ways than we do. They live closer to the earth and closer to each other, but they lack financial resources many times. They lack ideas as to how to improve their lot.
The nuns are welcomed by most villagers, but town officials label them communists because they organize the people. Sister Junita Zadorsky used to teach music in Canada.
Especially since I work in the cultural aspect, I've learned a lot about their ways of life, their music, their traditions, their manner of being in the pueblo. I've learned a lot about their patience, a lot about their sacrifice, really. A lot about living, just living.
How much of a sacrifice is it that they live?
It's a daily sacrifice. It's a daily fight. It's a daily struggle. Because they start from base one. Each day is to get enough food for the next day. And so it's quite a struggle. But I've learned from them to celebrate. To celebrate is life. And they can celebrate in the midst of suffering and poverty, and that's life. That's celebration.
Have they changed you?
I think so. I think perhaps in the way of looking at life, not so much as a security, as something steady, as something just there, taken for granted, because we too have had to learn how to go from base one. We've learned to let go of all the securities, and and work alongside with them.
What do you see your main purpose as?
I see it as accompanying, as being with, as learning and sharing. They share with us what they have, we share what we have. And I don't mean material. I mean who they are and how they are. And we share equally in that. Every time I think I've come to the end of my resources, there's something else that happens and something else comes up from underneath, and then we continue on. So it's hard to know.
So there are those times,
yes,
the lows.
Yes, there are the lows. Yes.
And the highs.
And the highs.
For so many people in Peru, dreams never come true. The young members of this musical group hope to break out of years and years of family poverty. In Peru, there is no government help for them to pursue careers in music. They have no money to study or travel. Victor Rivas Lara says the best he can hope for is a factory job in Lima, but he may not have the right connections.
En Perú sí es muy difícil encontrar algún trabajo.
In Peru, it's very, very difficult as a young person to find work.
Why is that?
¿Por qué?
Bueno, uno de que las cuestiones partidarias siempre están incluyendo en cuestión si no tiene un carnet de partido político, otra cosa.
For one thing, the political situation in Peru makes it difficult because those who belong to the party in power find jobs and those who don't.
Victor will struggle to get by in the future, and so will the country. One of Peru's most important sources of income is tourism, but there are problems.
Peru is a shock to the system. It is a place of raw beauty, wounded by third world despair. It is also part of the world that many people want to see. Peru's diversity attracts adventurous travelers. These days, they're heading straight into the heart of Peru. Jungle boats are now taking travelers up tributaries of the Amazon into the much-talked-about South American rainforest. It's called ecotourism. The idea is to get tourists into the jungle so they can appreciate the need to conserve this unique life system. Around the world, rainforest is being cleared at a rate of 5,000 acres per hour. 1 acre of Peruvian rainforest is home to 20,000 species of plants and animals. German photographer Gunther Ziesler will spend 3 months here stalking jaguars and cougars with his camera.
For me, it's always like a Garden Eden, and destroying it and to see cows or maize fields or something else instead of the great diversity of the rainforest and this luxury of life. It's very, very sad.
Peru is moving to conserve rainforest. The Tambopata Wildlife Reserve is the newest conservation area. It covers 5,500 hectares. Peru is also rich in historical treasures. Most of us learned about the Incas in school. The crumbling remains of the Inca Empire are still here to see. And in the Andean foothills, tombs of the Moche Indians are still being excavated. They were predecessors of the Incas. Like the Incas, they practiced human sacrifice and crafted elaborate jewelry and pottery. Tourists in Peru return home with a good sense of what was and what is. You can't visit this country and not feel for the people.
I think the important part is more people have to know about this, what's going on. If you don't know what's happening, nothing will happen as far as help. You have to see what's going on.
Much of what is going on happens on the streets of Peru. Here, tourists get a close-up look at life in a poor country. Unlicensed vendors can make a good living in Peru. Some observers see this underground economy as the key to the country's recovery from dismal conditions. These peddlers pay no taxes, and they are rarely bothered by authorities. Someone setting up a legitimate business in Peru can expect to wait up to 3 years before getting a license. Doing business on the street is appealing. Tourists view it as a cultural experience, sometimes forgetting that in the market areas, professional pickpockets and thieves are also trying to make a living.
You know, as long as they tell us, hang on to your purse and hang on to your husband, I'm all right. You know, so I don't mind. We're travelers, and we enjoy it. And I think the people here are fabulous. And I wish more people would come. I truly do.
Every tourist agent tells us, you know, watch out for your money, be careful, this, that. But I haven't been any more cautious than I would be in Italy. And there's been no problems. And they really could use more tourists, more publicity of a favorable nature.
Publicity has not been favorable. People die in the streets every time Peru goes through national elections. Peru's tourism minister told us no tourists have been killed as a result of terrorism. The National Tourist Agency has different numbers.
How many tourists have died here?
Well, in the last 5 years, we are very sad, really, that more or less 8 tourists die in Peru through violence.
Last year, tourism was down, but it still added $450 million to this country's coffers. It's Peru's second major source of income next to copper production. However, businessmen say high taxes and disorganization are keeping tourists away.
It's very sad to come to our main airport and don't know how to get out, and how to do it, and how to reach an hotel.
And when you find your hotel, expect to pay 20 to 30% more because you are a foreigner. Phone home and you'll discover long-distance charges are 4 times more expensive than North American rates. At a jungle lodge, we met travelers who told us a get-even attitude makes Peru the worst South American country to visit.
The people have got used to ripping tourists off in various ways, whether it's robbery or we might say official robbery by charging different prices to visitors.
Government officials told us foreigners should pay more because Peru is a have-not country.
Tourism represents about 50% of the non-traditional exports in Peru.
Es muy necesario para la economía de nuestro país administrar tributariamente los ingresos generados por el turismo.
It's very important for the country to administrate the tourist incomes through taxes.
Cusco, a strikingly beautiful city high in the Andes, is a popular tourist destination. But check in with the tourist office here, and you'll always find a policeman out front, armed with a 7.62 millimeter World War II Russian machine gun. Robbers seek out tourists.
It's usually in the bus stops and maybe sometimes in the stations, or the train stations.
Is crime getting worse?
Yeah.
But still, 8,000 Canadians visited Peru last year. Why?
Oh, I don't know. Just the mountains and the people, just the relaxed feeling that there is here. I don't know. It's beautiful.
Those who book tours to Peru say there's no reason to feel unsafe.
It is safe enough. It is safer than most other parts of the world. It's safer than walking a street in New York or walking a street in Paris or an underground in any other Latin American country.
Then why are you losing tourists here?
Because we are losing tourists mostly because of a general view of the country and mostly because of our own fault.
One problem is the promotion budget for the National Tourism Agency known as FOP Tours. The promotion budget goes down when tourism drops because it's linked to hotel taxes. Much of the world views Peru as a country in chaos. The fault is a political system that has tolerated corruption and disparity. Peru is at the same time strikingly beautiful and terribly scarred. Here, it's sometimes hard to dream of brighter times.
If they're corrupt, why should we pay, like our taxes?
The attacks from terrorism people, terrorism groups, are against the society, against the political situation in Peru.
You don't have the feeling that you are secure.
People here don't think too much of the future.
We obviously have a lot of hope. We obviously have a lot of hope.